Guys, we are back. Turn your cameras on, please. All right, guys. So YouTube is working. Going on, YouTubers, and we are back to Zoom as well. A lot of people missing. Make sure your cameras are on, please. Get on camera real quick. All right. So here we go. We're going to talk about New Jersey real estate contracts. This is only 8 pages. Because again, like I said, we had 2 chapters on contracts already. So we had contract law and then contract for real estate. But there's a few things that are state specific. For instance, contract handling. Right? Contract handling. What can we do in the state of New Jersey? Some states allow you to prepare contracts, some don't. Right? State of New Jersey, for instance, says we can prepare contracts for 1 to 4 family homes. So for residential properties, we can prepare the contracts that are on an approved pre-printed form. Right? So this will not be the practice of law or unauthorized practice of law, because we're not discussing the legality of the contract or the terms of the contract. We're just filling in the blanks. Right? So our job when it comes to contracts, literally, is filling in the blanks, and that's what we call an offer. If the offer is accepted, then attorneys review the terms of the contract, and they go back and forth discussing the contract between them. So, what can we do? We are allowed to prepare contracts on 1 to 4 family home and single lots. That's it. We are not allowed to prepare commercial leases, option agreements, or sales contracts. So anything that's out of the ordinary, it's not a standard, right? We must prepare only what is called an LOI. An LOI stands for letter of intent. So if it's commercial, industrial, if it's a creative financing like lease options, for instance, then all we prepare is a letter of intent that tells the seller, hey, our buyer intends to buy your property for X amount of dollars. If they agree to the offer, letter of intent, offer. If they agree to the offer, then attorneys draft the contract for these transactions. Okay? Now, what we're allowed to use is pre-printed form. The rule is that these modifications should be initialed by the parties involved. Okay? One thing to remember is that handwritten changes overrule pre-printed. So what is handwritten changes? Everything that I'm doing right now is handwritten changes. So if I want to say, like I said before, there's something here that's missing, right? Or we need to cross this out because it does not apply anymore in New Jersey, as an example. Then we have the pre-printed form, and then I have whatever I'm crossing out. So handwritten takes precedence over printed forms, right? But we have to initial things that we change, okay? So for example, the pre-printed form allows the buyer 10 days for a LeadBased Paint inspection, and the buyer only wants 5 days. So federal and state law give you 10 days to inspect for lead. But the buyer says, nope, I just want 5 days. Then we're going to cross out the 10 days, and we're going to write 5 days. That's it. Simple as that. As far as delivery of copies, guys, right here, before the listing agreement, sales contract, or lease is signed, the licensee must create multiple originals of the document. So we don't sign one and then make copies, right? So let's say there's 10 people. Actually, I'm going to put here 3 people sign this contract, right? We're not going to sign one and then these are copies. Okay, that's not what we're doing. What we're going to do is we're going to have 2, 3 originals. And we sign all. Okay? So we don't sign one and then make copies of these. We sign all with a fresh signature. So delivery copies, we must create multiple originals and deliver an original to each party. This way you have what's called a wet ink signature from every single party in the transaction in every single document in the transaction. Okay. Retention of requirements. Brokers are required to handle documents as follows. We must keep copies of unaccepted purchase offers for 6 months from the date of the offer. How long, guys? How long must we keep the offers? Let me know in the chat. How long must we keep the offers? Waiting. How long must we keep the offers, guys? YouTubers, you can answer as well. Did you answer and then say I'm wrong? Like you reject your own answer? That's funny. So Nady, 1 year? Where did you see 1 year? So Nady, where did you see 1 year? Where did that come from? Guys, how long must you keep the offers? Make sure you guys are with me, please. Alexis, what is that? Can you please translate? I know it's Spanglish, but still right? Look at this. Misspelled. What is that? Not even a Spanish word, man. Not. All right. So we got mix of things. We have from Sanady, we got 1 year. From Sam, we got 6 years, and we got also I'm wrong. From Alexis, we get whatever this is. From Danny, 6 months. Marta, 6 months. Anybody else? How long do you have to keep the offers? Crazy how you guys don't pay attention to the question. All of you are right and all of you are wrong, except for Sanady. That 1 year, I have no idea where it came from. But all of you are right and all of you are wrong. The question is, how long do you have to keep the offers? And now we're just throwing random stuff until it closes. All right. Danny says, what offers? I don't see any offer. I gotta love it. Okay. But the question is exactly that. What offers? That's the actual question. Because what we just read, and this is the reason why I ask the questions right after what we just read, right? We read that unaccepted offers, we got to keep them for 6 months. So is it all the offers? 6 months? No. If they're unaccepted, we keep them for 6 months, and that's because of discrimination. Because if somebody felt they're discriminated against, they have up to 6 months to file a complaint with the state of New Jersey. So 6 months to keep unaccepted offers. If they were accepted, Juan, I see your message there. If they were accepted, and you know what? They became contracts. Because accepted offers are contracts. And if it's a contract, we keep them for 6 years. If it's a contract, we keep them for 6 years. So what offers was the exact question that you needed to ask yourselves when you're reading the question or listening to it. What offers? Look at the answers. There's going to be 4 answers. 2 of them are going to be very similar. One can talk about unaccepted offers, and then they might say all offers, right? We already know that all offers not valid, because if it's a verbal offer, we don't even need to keep it, right? Written offers, unaccepted, right? Sam, you weren't 100% wrong. That's what I was saying. So you were right on a few things, wrong on others, right? Because if I was asking about an offer was accepted, how long do you have to keep it for? Well, if it was accepted, it's a contract. So then your answer, Sam, which was 6 years, would have been correct, right? So you need to know, what offers are they talking about? Look at the answers. One of the things that they do commonly in the state exam is they'll put familiar words, right? So they will do unaccepted offers, and instead of 6 months, they'll put 5, right, as one potential answer. And then they'll give you another answer. So let's say the answer is D. So this is B and something else in between, and this is D, right? And they will say accepted offers, and it'll put 6 years, okay? So if your brain sees something that's familiar, like unaccepted, okay, we got it. And then you see the 5 months. In your mind, you're not looking at 5 months anymore. You saw an answer that was familiar, unaccepted offers. You saw months. You're not looking at number 5, right? So automatically you pick that one that will be incorrect, right? So sometimes they do that. Sometimes they'll do this one right here, and they'll put Sanadi's answer, right? 1 year. It's not 1 year. 1 year is nowhere. You guys understand? So they trick you like that. They put 2 very similar answers, very similar answers. One thing that throws it off, right? Not going to change the way you do real estate, but apparently for testing is important to trick you guys. Anyway, now state of New Jersey has something called Statute of Limitations. Statute of Limitations. Limitation on what? Lawsuits. Statute of limitations. So the question is, for how long can you sue? Or how long do you have to sue? When is your limitation, right? So your SOL, if you guys know what SOL means, after 6 years. All right, does anybody know what this means, SOL? Let me know in the chat. And Sam, yes, whoever wrote the questions for the test, they like to play games, absolutely. What does this mean, SOL? After 6 years. Danny says, smile out loud. That was a good one. Forget LOL. SOL is the new one. There you go. Sonady, perfect. Sol means sun. There you go. In Portuguese too. Okay. Learning new things today. All right. So SOL means statute of limitations. Right here. Statute of limitations. After 6 years, statute of limitation ends. So you can no longer sue, right? You can no longer sue anyone in the transaction. You have 6 years to bring a lawsuit. Or if you're trying to recover the property, you have 10 years. But to sue based on the contract, you have, like I said, you have 6 years. To try to recover the property, you have 10 years. But SOL, 6 years. Okay. All right. Next thing we have is dual contracts. Now, a dual contract is when we have, as the name says, two contracts. Two contracts. So dual contracts. We have two contracts, right, for the same property. It's two contracts for the same transaction, for the same property, for the same buyer, for the same seller, same house, same everything, except for price. Okay? So one contract states the actual purchase price, and the other one shows a higher purchase price. Now, why would we have two contracts for the same property, same transaction, same seller, same buyer, right, but with different prices? Well, usually we're trying to get more money from the bank. That's what it is. So the dual contract, and this happens a lot in, in car loans, right, where they sell you a car for $15,000, but then they charge the bank $20,000, right? They send to the bank with the fluff fees, right? They sold you the car for X amount of dollars, but then they inflate for a higher amount. That's illegal. Not as regulated as it is in mortgages, because in mortgage, you can even go to jail for making a false representation. The property sold for $300, contract is $300, period. Okay, so that's what they're saying. Dual contracts are illegal. The next thing we have is a plain language requirement. So in New Jersey, contrary to other states, in New Jersey, guys, we are not required to have an attorney. Like I said, we can prepare contracts on 1 to 4 family and single building lots. We are not required to have an attorney. So what does that mean? It means that we should be able to understand the contract, right? It should be in plain English, plain language, something that we use every day and people understand. That when we read, we're not going to be like, what does this word mean? Right? It's not going to be any type of legalese, right? It's going to be in plain language, everyday language. Okay? Cannot use any technical terms, double negatives, Old English, Latin, French, and so on. No fee schedule. This you guys already know. In New Jersey, commissions are 6%. So you guys already know this, right? Is that what it is? Anybody? Sam says nope. Okay, that's a great answer. In the state exam, look for the answer C, which is nope. How's it go? So if you say nope, then what is it? Negotiable. Thank you. Yes. Commissions are negotiable. In fact, guys, with every listing, right here, with every listing, there must be a statement in the listing agreement that says, as a seller, you have the right to individually reach an agreement on any fee, commission, or other valuable consideration with any broker. There's no fee, commission, or other consideration that has been affixed by any government authority or trade association or MLS. So with the listing, it has to stipulate that it's negotiable. Guys, I already talked about the letter of intent. This is for commercial properties. For those of you texting me right now on WhatsApp to ask if there's any practice exam, you can always go into your student portal. Right, the first thing it says access course resources. I'm going to show you right now real quick. Right here. Student portal. Okay. First thing is course resources. We're going to scroll down and look. I'll even put a blinking light here. Go and test yourself. Go and test yourself. That's it. Anyway. All right. Next. Ready? A real estate contract may be rescinded. Real estate contract may be rescinded under any of the following conditions. We can cancel. Rescinded means cancel. Right? We can cancel a contract under any of the following conditions. False representations. Right? Concealment. So errors and omissions, as we know, right? Fraud. Failure to disclose. I'm sorry. So failure of consideration, material breach, or default. If it's New Jersey Planned Real Estate Development Act, like a out-of-state property, it's the same conditions, out-of-state property. They ask for the same thing. You got 7 days to cancel the contract. That's your right. If it's a 1 to 4 family, you got 3 business days to cancel a contract. Okay. For refinancing as well, but we talked about that in mortgages. Statute of frauds. Statute of frauds, as you guys already know, it's the same for New Jersey as it is anywhere else. Just one thing that we're going to change as anywhere else. Statute of frauds requires that we have contracts for the sale or rental of real estate in writing. Now, for the rental, not all contracts must be in writing. For the rental, only leases for 3 years or longer. Everything else is in writing. I'm sorry, all the other contracts for transfer are in writing. For leases that are less than 3 years, verbal agreement is okay. If it's more than 3 years, must be in writing. I don't know if you guys remember, in the national portion of this book, it said that some states have it as 1 year. So anything that's 1 year or longer must be in writing. New Jersey says up to 3 years, verbal is fine. 3 years or more must be in writing. Okay. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule. In 1996, the statute of frauds was changed or amended to allow oral contracts or verbal contracts to be enforceable, as long as we have what's called clear and convincing evidence. So we did mention this. I'm going fast over this part because we did mention it in the national portion, right? Most contracts for the transfer of real estate must be in writing, right? Except for the lease that's less than 3 years. But if it's not in writing, you might still be able to enforce it as long as you have clear and convincing evidence. This is common sense. Every contract must have a description of the property, right? What am I buying? The purchase price. How much am I selling it for or buying it for? The buyer agreement the seller agreement to sell, the buyer's agreement to buy, the type of deed and the grantor's agreement to convey, the time and place of the transaction closing, and the signatures, because it's in writing, so we have to sign it. It could also include contingencies, right? Contingencies is a loan, for instance, FHA, VA. We cannot buy the house unless FHA approves by the appraised price and inspections. So it's a contingency. Mr. Seller, I am buying your house subject to FHA approval. Okay. Earnest money deposit, evidence of title. property inspection contingencies, Megan's law statement, offsite conditions, zoning notice, CIS acknowledgement, and so on. So guys, we already went over all of this. New Jersey, very similar to other states in that. LeadBased Paint. If a property was built before 1978, we must provide a disclosure, right? Protect your home from lead, protect your family from lead, right? And also, we must give a 10-day period to inspect the property for potential lead hazards. Okay? Page 448. If I'm going too fast, guys, just tell me to stop. Because, again, I'm using this as review, pointing out a few things, and that's it. But if it's going too fast, just tell me, Bruno, explain this again. Notice to buyer and seller. Okay. Notice to buyer and seller. What notice is this? This is the cover page to a sales contract. It's the cover page that says notice to buyer and seller. Notice of what? Notice of what? Notice of business relationships. So that's the first thing that's going to be there. Now, do you guys remember what type of business relationships we can enter into? Anybody remembers this? I know it was a long time ago, right? It was in the morning, so you might not remember anymore. What are the types of business relationships we can enter into? All right, Mealy just gave a great question. Can the buyer decline the lead inspection? Yes. So I skipped it, but yes, right here. The buyer is allowed to shorten or waive. Okay, so with the lead-based paint disclosure, we can say, yes, I want the 10 days, or no, I waived the 10 days, or you know what, 10 days is not necessary, I'll do it in 5. Okay, so yes, the buyer can waive. That's an option to the buyer. The seller must disclose that the property was built before 1978, but the buyer has the option to either inspect or not. So guys, I'm still waiting on this. What types of business relationships can we enter into? All right, perfect. Juan, dual disclosure agency. That's one of them. Danny goes like buyer's agent, seller's agent. What's a trans broker? Is that a new one? Trans broker? And disclosed dual agents. So yes, those are the types of business relationships we can enter into. Great. Well, the cover page of the contract, see, the CIS was a disclosure, right? Sanady asked before if it was a contract. I said no. It was a disclosure, right? But now we're in the contract. The contract must copy what the CIS said, and now gives an option for you to say, hey, before I wanted to be the seller's agent, now I am the seller's agent. Okay, before I wanted to be the buyer's agent, but now I am. So the previous one, the CIS, is a disclosure of what we would like to represent you as. The cover page, or the notice to the buyer and the seller, is now a statement of how I represent. Before, it was a wish. Now it's what I'm doing. You see the difference? So before, it was not a contract. There was no commitment. The CIS was just literally, hey, heads up, I could represent you this way or that way. Could, right? Notice to buyer is now saying, this is how I represent you. It's not how I could, it's I am representing you this way as a sales agent, buyer's agent, disclosure agent, or transaction broker. Another requirement that we have in New Jersey is that at the top of the first page of the contract, we include the words, this is a legally binding contract. So before anything else, it must say this is a legally binding contract that will become final within 3 business days. That means until the third business day, we call this, in the national portion, we call this the cooling off period. Until the third business day, the seller or the buyer could change their minds. Okay? Until the third business day, they have the right to have an attorney review the contract. And they have the right to have the attorney, between attorney and client, disapprove the contract. Okay? So this is the attorney review option. The 3 business days is the attorney review or cooling off period option, where you can just walk away or have an attorney review and make some decisions of what you approve or disapprove of the contract. So line 109, please change this. Line 1000, remove it altogether. Line 231, please add this or extend that, whatever it is. The changes are made by the attorney by disapproving certain areas of the contract or the whole contract altogether. When do you start counting? This is important. When do you start counting the time? The 3 business days. When do you start counting? 3 business days from the date of delivery of the signed contract to the buyer and to the seller. So once both parties receive the signed copy, so Tiana, I'm going to put an offer right now. Okay? I'm the buyer, you're the seller. I'm going to put an offer right now. And you tell your agent, I accept Bruno's offer, right? Does this mean we start counting the 3 business days? The answer is no. Until I receive your signed copy, because you got mine. You got my signature. That came with the offer. Until I receive your signed copy, right? The business days don't start counting. So this only starts counting from the moment I receive the seller's signed copy. So this way, you have 2 signatures, I have 2 signatures. Seller and buyer on both papers, okay? So that's when it starts. All right, property condition disclosure. Guys, we already talked about this as well. It's the seller's property condition disclosure. They have to tell us what are the conditions of the property. Okay, so you guys already know this. As far as listings, listing agreements, in the seller's listing, we must determine the agency relationship. So the listing says how I represent the seller. CIS, again, was simply a disclosure or a notice. The listing must include, how do I represent you now? Do I represent as a transaction broker? So that means I facilitate the transaction. Do I represent you as a seller's agent? Or seller's agent with the possibility of becoming a disclosable agent later, right? So that will all be in the listing. I'm sure you guys remember there's 4 listing types. There's the open listing, there's exclusive agency listing, exclusive right to sell listing, and there's the the net listing, which is illegal, right? So we're going to skip that one. Exclusive right to sell, as the name says, exclusive, that means, actually let me clear this, means one agency. Open, right? Open means multiple agencies, right? You guys remember I picked on Tiana and her husband because Tiana's open relationship was good, right? You guys remember that? Right, some of you, the married people particularly, were the ones that said open was the best. Right, you remember that? So open is like an open relationship, open listing. Anybody can sell the property, right? Exclusive, we're committed to one person. Exclusive agency, I told you guys it was like being engaged, right? So if I find a buyer, I get paid. If you find a buyer, you can walk away. We don't get married yet, right? But exclusive right to sell, no matter who finds the buyer, whether it's the agent or the seller, whoever finds the buyer, the agency still gets paid, right? So these two right here, exclusive agency and open listing, whoever finds a buyer gets paid. If the seller finds it, then no agent gets paid. In this one, we're fully married, so divorce is going to be costly. You cannot walk away without paying me if the property sold while our listing was in effect. Okay, that's what exclusive right to sell does. Okay. Every listing term except for open listing, every listing must have a beginning and an end date of the agreement. So it's a 6-month listing, it's a 5-month listing, it's a 2-week listing. You can have a 1-day listing. That's the stuff we do in the for sale by owners, right? For sale by owner, you go to them and say, hey, property's been on the market. There's no bites. You're still here. I see this been here for like 2 months. Give me an opportunity. I just want to do this weekend. I'll do an open house, right? So give me a 1 weekend listing, for instance, right? That's when you attack the for sale by owners. Give me a 1 weekend. Give me 2 weekends. Let me try this. After that, no commitments. If I find the buyer, you pay me. If I don't find the buyer, it's only 2 weeks. That's how confident I am with my word, and I'm willing to lose, right? So beginning and end date. List price for the sale of the property, the terms of broker's compensation, and also the terms of cooperating broker's compensation. It all goes in the listing. So we're going to say, I want 6%, and we're giving 3% to whoever brings us a buyer. So 50-50, or 60-40, or 70-30, whatever way we want to split, we will discuss that with the seller. And if the seller's okay, it becomes part of the listing. Also, which MLS we're going to use, and are we going to have signs? Are we able to put signs? Are we able to advertise? What can we do or not? Right? So all goes with the listing agreement. Okay. We already talked about this. There must be a beginning and end date. Commission is negotiable. Every listing agreement, you guys already know, must have the CIS, the business relationship, seller's agent, buyer's agent, disclosure agent, or transaction broker. So business relationship, every single listing. And law against discrimination, LAD, which says, Mr. Seller, you cannot discriminate. I cannot discriminate. If you intend to discriminate, our relationship is over. Right? So that's what the Attorney General Memorandum is for. And of course, be signed. All right, you can look at some agreements here. It really does not matter for a state exam if you get the listing agreements or not, because it's what do you call it? Because in the state exam, they're not going to tell you on line 1, what do you find there? On line 10, what do you find there? So preparing a listing, preparing contracts is really not tested. Understanding what's in the listings or the contracts is important. Everything else, you're going to do it when you get your license. All right? And the final one, we are done. Net listing, illegal. This is where the seller says, I want $200,000 for my house. You know the property is worth $400,000, and you tell the seller, I'll get you your $200,000. But is it okay for me to get the commission above that? Right? So the property sells for $400,000, right? $400,000 sales price. $200,000 is what the seller wants. So seller's net. Right? That means your commission is $200K. Now, that's great for you, but was that in the client's best interest? That's why it's illegal in New Jersey, and most states have it being illegal as well. Because you making 50% commission, for instance, is not in the client's best interest. Okay? It's client first always. That is it. Told you it was a quick chapter. Any questions? I gave enough time for Marta to do her hair. Looking great, by the way. Any questions, guys? It was a simple chapter. So just reviews, a couple things Jersey specific, very few. But if you have any questions, let me know. If not, we're going to end this session. Come back tomorrow for chapter 29 and 30. And Friday, we got math. Very exciting. Questions? YouTubers, questions? Zoomers, questions? Juan's asking if there's class tomorrow. Is it a holiday? It's a holiday tomorrow? We're going to get the first snow day, and everybody's like, oh, holiday. Yay. We haven't had snow in about a year. Yay. There is class tomorrow. Millie says, enjoy. Shut down snow. You guys do understand this is virtual. Like, I mean, not like you have to come in here. Like, you do understand that, right? So you can still be in class? Alexis, I like your attitude. No excuses. There you go. If we keep on extending this class, we're only going to finish it by the New Year's. All right. Sam says, my daughter's school has half a day because of snowstorm. Tomorrow they have half a day? Tomorrow? Oh, today. Okay. Well. And it's virtual. So bad. All right, but we will be here tomorrow, guys. Sorry, we will be here tomorrow. There's only 2 chapters. It's easy. And then Friday we have math, and then Saturday we have exam. Okay? Make sure you guys are doing the Quizlets. Make sure you guys are doing the practice exam online. The exam is at 10 o'clock. It's the same schedule, guys, as now. It's the same schedule. It's from 10 to 2 on Saturday. I'll give you a Zoom link. I'll send it out tonight. Zoom link for you guys to sign up for the exam. And then during the class, I give you guys the actual link to take the exam and the password to access it. Millie, tell Mario thank you. Okay, I will tell Mario thank you. Tell him right now. I'm waiting on Alexis to finish typing. Alexis, what are you typing there? A whole statement? Like, is it a book? All right, we're done with the reviews pretty much. Tomorrow's the last review day. Oh, it was the same question. Okay. Oh, thanks for letting me know it's the same question as Marta. I'm here waiting. Yeah. Sam, thank you very much for saying happy birthday to Pedro. Not that he deserves people say happy birthday to him, but it's okay. All right, so I'm going to enjoy right now his birthday. I'm going to go eat something. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you have any questions, reach out to me, okay? So have an amazing rest of your day. And I'll see you at 10 o'clock in the morning. Thank you. Bye.